Hello everyone, welcome to my first ever tier list for Halo Wars. Inspired from legendary Founding Titan. I was checking out a video of his where he made a Halo Wars tier list, and I was like, I've been thinking about this for a hot minute as well, so why not get to it? So the first part will just be me by myself setting up the tier list, and then later on I'll have my friends and people that I know also discuss what's the best unit. So to be specific, creating a Halo Wars unit tier list showcases the best units to make when trying the turtle, going by my experiences and then others eventually. So let's get with the tiers. S tier, God, as in like more or less you're going to make these, and they're used like all the time. So A, below that is a solid choice. Not on the level of an S tier unit, but it's a decent choice and a decent alternative if you don't want to make the S tier unit. B, it situationally depends on the circumstance. C is iffy. It's very questionable on the unit in particular. D tier is just bad. And then the last team is a meme. However, honestly, they might fall. D and meme might fall in the same tier, but that might change. I'm not too sure. So, of course, with all of the units here on the screen, this is assuming every single unit is upgraded. And to be very specific, again, this is setting up and during an actual turtle. And of course, I'll make another tier list for like what unit can break it. So, yeah, let's get started. So, I guess, also to clarify, so basically if something's on the left, it's better than something on the right. So something on the right would be lower on the scale. So yeah, let's begin. So up here in the, so we got Marines. So Marines are not ODSTs. They're better than Elite Grunts and Brute Grunts, of course, right? Like, so that means something. I'm trying to think, like, when have I ever used Marines setting up a turtle unless I'm memeing around? I would put them in meme tier, but they actually can do something. But 10-12 minutes in the game, you're up against Banshees, tanks, Warthogs in some situations, Wraiths. They kind of just die. I'm not too sure, but like my mind is like forcing them between, like they jump between bad and iffy. So I guess for a placement, let's just put them in the iffy tier, and we'll have to probably change it later. Elite Grunts. They don't do as much damage to buildings like elite like Brute Grunts do. But they're pretty bad, even with Deacon and all that. Even with a full population, I'm not really scared of these things. They're kind of just funny. I would dare say they're a meme. But I think I'm just going to put them in bad. Brute Grunts, they do a little bit better against buildings. However, at that point, right, when you're setting up a turtle to gang a turtle, it can be between like the 15 to 20 minute mark. So by then you're already seeing at least an army of tanks around Cancer Shell. You're seeing Banshees flying around. You'll see a Brute Chieftain here or there, a Spartan tank. So keep that in mind. They're definitely better than Elite Grunts by far. Well, marginally. So, but they lose to Marines. So I have to put them on the bad tier D. Suicide Grunts. Spoiler alert, very good for turtle breaking, and you know what? They might just be good for turtle making. I was just talking to Ninja a few minutes ago, and he brought this up, but I'll save that for another time. I think I'll put the Suicide Grunts to a B. Because of course the unit dies, so it's costly to make them. 20 minutes into the game, I wouldn't see how, as an Arbiter player, you would have Suicide Grunts upgraded. You would already be focused on vampires and other units. depending on the situation. So I'll put Suicide Grunts in the B tier for now. They might change. So now we get to the Brute squads. Very solid against buildings, very good against buildings. And if you get enough of them with Electric Shock, they can stun vehicle units for a short time. And compounded, this can even mess with veteranized tanks in one of my videos for Tanks versus Everything. The 13-star Tanks versus Everything. So, again, I'll put them... So, again, in terms of making a turtle, you be focused on other things. I'd put them in, like... If there was, like, an intermediate tier, I'd put them there. But I'd say, like, in my opinion, I think Brutes go in the depending section. They can do something, and they're pretty decent. They're just bad against other infantry. So, Jackals, Marines, ODSTs, I think. That's just me. Flamethrowers. Pretty solid. You know, they're only good against infantry. Buildings, bad. You know, vehicles, bad. Air units, they just stare and die. So, but they're pretty good. When setting up a turtle, I would say that if you can get a stun off, they can eviscerate a lot of infantry, except for Jackals, because they just get sniped. But if you can get close enough and stun the Jackals, they can pretty much F them up. So, you know, again, like, this is like a small number. I don't expect you to make no more than like 5 to 7 flamethrowers. That should be enough. Like, an army of hunters, you can make like 10 of them. ODSTs, you make like 4 to 6. You can stop a drop here or there if you're there. Oh right, I forgot to mention this too. Excuse me. I'll probably put that in the... I'll probably make it a note. But to reiterate here, I guess this is referring to a 3-base super turtle, or like holding the wall on Fort Dean/Glacial, generally speaking. So keep that in mind. I'm not talking about the siege, because that'd be a different thing altogether. So anyway, the flamethrower, I'll put them definitely in the B, again, in the B tier. It really does depend. I'm not sure if I think I'll put them in front of the Suicide Grunt and put the Brute here. But the Brutes could just fly away. I don't know. The more units I put down, the more I'll be likely to change. The Honor Guards. The only use for them I can see is when you're flying around as a Prophet, dropping them in a watchtower, you know, for vision on Fort Dean, or taking the shield wall, which if you have a clever teammate, he'll do that job for you. I'm gonna place them in the iffy tier because yes, they excel against infantry and hero units up until a certain point. So I don't know, maybe like iffy to like bad. They're better than the Elite and Brute Grunts, hands down. But I don't know. I would say iffy. I put the Honor Guards in the iffy tier. So everybody's favorite, and the main reason why you want a turtle in the first place, Spartans, is the immediate god tier unit. Not too much to really say. I made a veterancy video. I made a turtle video guide. So, you know, you need to make these for, you know, veterancy. You can hijack, you know, if you're bored, you want to hijack a Wraith, go take it. You want to, you know, whatever you take is going to dramatically increase the vehicle's damage multiplier, especially at 13 to 14 stars depending. So, not too much explanation here. They're pretty solid. Yeah. Now, hunters. When trying to set up a turtle, I'm going to put them in the iffy tier above the Elite Honor Guard. Why? Because I'm trying to think of a certain situation. When I'm silent, I'm trying to think of a situation where this can apply, right? Hunters are solid against, you know, tanks and whatnot. Like, they're good, but the thing is that hunters are slow. They suck. And you can only maximize them if you're an Arbiter running around to drop them off, or a Prophet flying around. I think. You would need multiple bases in separate positions if you're doing the holding the wall turtle on Fort Dean or Glacial, for example. but you know, they're again, hunters are just slow and they suck when they are yours, but good when they're the enemies. So I get them in the iffy tier because they need to get where they need to go first. I mean, that's any unit, right? But hunters are just slow. Now, you know, if you're holding a position and they can't get through, they're pretty good. But if you just go around them, or you know, cryo, candy glitch them, they tend to just fall off. So again, above elite and brute grunts, no question. However, they can't shoot air, so I put them in the iffy tier. And probably behind the Marines. Maybe I put the honor guard in front of the hunters. I don't know. You can disagree. Put that in the comments. ODSTs. I hate them and love them at the same time. I'm really stuck between putting them between A and S for setting up a turtle. I think I'll put ODSTs in the God tier. Maybe solid choice. It might change. Reason why I'll say they're in the God tier is because when setting up, you know, they're a must-have for taking. If you take the wall, you can delay, you know, opponents pushing you for a very long time. You don't want something to escape, you know, just cut them off. You know, they're definitely like among the must build as a cutter. Like, if you're not making them, like, what are you doing? You know, like why? Why would you not make them? They're very good for, you know, vision. If you want to like see what's going on, just drop them and send them up. They have a lot of uses. So when setting up a turtle and turtling, you know, I tend to leave like 4 population open just for ODSTs. But you know, if there's any good arguments, I don't mind bringing them back down to solid choice. But I think that, you know, they don't give a fuck about flamethrowers. They don't care about brutes. You can use them as a distraction for suicide grunts. They're better than Marines, better than honor guards, better than hunters, and pimp slap the elite grunts, any grunt variant. So I see this is why I give them the God tier. Now Cyclops. So Cyclops, right? We all know they're horrible, right? But in my turtle video, if you say your team is all UNSC, then Cyclops will be the next best thing to make. And the only reason why Forge isn't absolutely terrible when turtling, you know, unless your whole team is Forge and you got like a cutter Anders to deal with, then that's a different story. But even so, in an all UNSC game, if one UNSC team is turtling and they don't have a Forge and up against a turtling team that has a Forge, Cyclops are really good. They're the next best thing. So you don't have to constantly waste 350 for the healing spire. Excuse me, regeneration field. Excuse me. So, like, you know, you can meme around with them, right? But I don't know. They're better than elite grunts and brute grunts in my opinion. They just, you know, they can do something. Like, they can at least heal. So I put them in the high iffy tier, serving more utility than Marines, because at least if you're under attack, you can make a couple of Cyclops for yourself and not have to bother your Covenant player right away, so you can heal yourself, you know. So I'll put them in high iffy tier, and you know, in certain situations, if it's all UNSC, they would be scratching the B tier, but default iffy tier, generally speaking. Jackals. When setting up for a turtle, say you're up against a cutter, you know, Jackals do work out. You know, you strategically place them by places you know a cutter is most likely going to drop. You can do some damage, you know. However, of course, they're only like flamethrowers. At least they have range, and they're only good against infantry. They're terrible against buildings, and if the enemy, for whatever reason, is not upgraded air at all, Jackals can do okay against unupgraded Hornets and Banshees. But that's not, but that's about it. However, you know, in other cases, like, you know, you knock out the enemy team has like a veteranized tank, you knock it out or whatever. You know, the Jackals can snipe out a Spartan like instantly, even if it's starred, if you got like 7 of them or something. However, I think that like they're probably the best for the not iffy tier, the for B. Because they have to use as much, they're basically a much better flamethrower. They can at least hit air and vehicles, but they don't do anything to vehicles. So I'll put Jackals in the high B tier. And of course, B means like it's not bad, and it depends. So yeah. Up next, the Engineer. If you watched my How to Turtle in Halo Wars video, you know that this is a must build. Engineers, when trying to turtle, must go in God tier. I would have to say in front of the ODST. And I'd say like they'd be on par with a Spartan. As a Covenant, regardless, you must build these things. If Engineers did not exist, turtling would be so much more of a difficult thing to pull off. Engineers can keep a Scarab alive, like they really can. Dude, like 20 Engineers can stop 2 armies attacking a base if you make 20 of them, and any more is just ridiculous. So yeah, Engineers are just like they're the must build. They're excellent. I have nothing to really say about them. They're really good. So now for the Covenant leaders, I would have to say that like they would hover between the A and S tier, with the exception of the Prophet. However, you know, you must build these things because you have to. They're the next best, you know, strong unit for Covenant aside from a Scarab. So starting with the Prophet, it's very situational. If you watched how I rank the leaders, for the situation, you can get an idea. But for the tier list, for trying to set up, I would have to say Prophet can definitely, like when setting up, he definitely depends. I'll put him in B tier, and if you can argue for A or higher, I'm not against that. But you know, how do I put it? Like in an all UNSC game, right? I would put, if it was an all UNSC game and you're trying to set up a turtle, then the Prophet would go to like S, low S. If there's like one Covenant that knows what they're doing, as in the Vampire, and that UNSC knows what they're doing, and you get a D-bomb, he can be an A. And then if it's like more than one Covenant that know what, like, and assuming they all know what they're doing, he's B. He's not iffy, but he's like, you know, he can get the job done. I mean, yeah, I don't know, my mind is saying like high B, low A. So considering like he can go all the way up here if it's like all UNSC on the enemy team, and go all the way down if it's like Covenant, I say like a high B is where I put the Prophet. Like, and I'm talking about the Prophet hero unit, of course, like, you know, just to clarify. So I put him in, like leagues above the Jackal, no question. Like, if you can cleanse them down. If there's too many Jackals, then he kind of just blows up. But that's for another day. Now, Arbiter, Shirley, Eagle's favorite, and my second favorite leader in the game. I put Arbiter in the solid choice category. Very solid choice. You know, Rage Glitch is very powerful, especially when you have that goofy god mode that is just so evil to abuse. You know, he's a solid choice. He can, you know, if he has ghastly vision between the 15 and 20 minute mark, he can, you know, go around the map, use the suicide grunts to harass any annoying cutters, knock out reactors, you know, knock out buildings, especially if he start up. He's very annoying to deal with once he's past 2 stars. He's a solid choice all around, through and through. And he can attack air. However, of course, players at this point are aware that you can cliff him. And what does cliffing mean? It means if you're raging on an air unit, you just fly over any impassable terrain, like a cliff, or yeah. And the Arbiter can just either die or teleport to another section of the map, but that's very rare. But I think Arbiter is a solid choice. He can do some damage to ODSTs. You know, You can wipe out the jackals because they'll shoot themselves and hurt themselves. Flamethrowers can't stun them. You know, it's kind of hard to trap him with his own suicide runs. Hunters, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you guys can understand. So on to the next, my favorite Covenant leader, the Brute Chieftain. Even though he can't hit air without his Vortex, I believe the Brute Chieftain unit goes in the God tier. And an absolute must build if you're playing as him, obviously. He can, you know, if it's a one-on-one against a 13-star Spartan tank, if the enemy has it somehow, you can stun it forever in a vacuum. He benefits the most from engineers being on him, and arguably a 3-star Chieftain is like more damaging than a damn 1-star Scarab sometimes. He's very powerful, very tanky. I have no complaints with the Chieftain. A must build, whether you're trying to make or break a turtle. The Chieftain unit is just great. So now that's it with our infantry for the most part. Yeah, we covered the infantry. So now onto the vehicles. Well, it's not the Cyclops, but now we have the Ghost. It's just bad. Do I even have to say anything about the Ghost? Like, yeah, boosted RAM, cool. Strafe, cool. I mean, it can F up the elite grunts, maybe. No, it can't even do that. No. Just bad. Don't even, like, I don't know. It's just garbage. Warthog, Goshawk. If you get Spartans in them, they can do something. And when setting up a turtle, if you use them as a, you know, like you're playing to kill it first, then you fall back, they can do something. But, you know, at the 20-minute mark, it's like, you know, if there's a UNSC player, they have a bunch of tanks, it'll be hard, you know. If you're already not playing to kill from the beginning, you know, it's tough. And trying to keep them around for turtling, unless you have 3 Spartan Goths, you're memeing around. They're better than, you know, the Ghost immediately, right? I think they'll probably be at the top of bad tier until more units come to the fray, right? So, like, they're hitting like iffy, but they're high bad. It's kind of funny to say. Chopper, a much better Ghost. Not really too much to say. It's a much better Ghost. Yeah, it's a much better Ghost, but gets flattened by, like, maybe it's above the elite grunt. Yeah, no, it should be here. Like, yeah. Not too much to say about the Chopper. I don't see it often. I dare say I put it in meme tier if you're trying to hold on to this damn thing, but I don't see that happen often, so I can't make an adjustment off of this. This is my experience and what I've seen, so I put Chopper here. Gremlin, the very reason why Anders is God, aside from her cryo bomb, when setting up a turtle, a Gremlin is extremely useful for offensive and defensive, so it's going to place very high on both iterations of the list. So the Gremlin, I would have to say, is very high A to God tier, in my opinion. I think if you make like 4 or 5 of them, you can stop a ground army for a short while. Like, I'm talking about, like, if a really optimized Anders player, it'd be God. But a player like me, my level, I say I'm okay most of the time. It's a solid choice, a very solid choice to make. Not better than the Arbiter, because the Arbiter can just rage them down. But when setting up and trying to hold the line, Gremlins, they do their thing. They really do their thing. They really do their thing, you know. I want to put them in God tier on S, but something tells me put them in A. Very solid choice. You're not like decreasing your chances of winning with these things. They're good defensive units. Onto the Elephant. So, when using the Elephant to make a Vulcan, they go here. when you're starting out as cutter, you either go barracks, make some marines, or go elephant. That's a high risk. Like, I'd say like the top of, I don't know about the elephant. Like, you could meme around if you put Spartans in them. Like, they can go here, I guess. I don't know, but like they're high C tier. That's just me. I'm not sure. You know, I don't really know. Like, they have elephant has its uses. English. It has its uses. For a Vulcan, like, sure, put it up here. You know, but yeah, it definitely has more, like, I don't know, maybe lower on the iffy tier. I think I get more use out of a hunters than an elephant. Like, I'll keep the elephant as a placeholder for a Vulcan. I don't know about B tier because, again, it has to sit down and lock down somewhere. It's not as useful as a unit that we'll talk about later. 2 units technically, but I'll put this on the lower end of iffy tier. They have more use than these bad boys, you know. So yeah, let me move the honor guard back. I don't know why. So yeah, I think that's appropriate. Wolverines from any UNSC, they have to, bare minimum, they have to go in the solid choice category. You know, they're very good at killing air. So why would you not build them? Yeah, I have no complaint about this, and not to mention Wolverines are good at attacking buildings. You know, if we're talking about Halo Wars 1, so, which is what we're talking about, duh. So, yeah, Wolverines will go in the A tier. I don't see how they go in the God tier. They're solid, you know what I mean? It's not bad. You should make them as a UNSC. Depending on the situation, though, but again, they're solid against buildings, even solid against vehicles in some cases. If you get, you know, all volleys off, you can even volley glitch at the right point in time. Very good against Covenant. So yeah. Now Wraith. I like these things. If a Spartan gets in it, it jumps up to God. Kinda. Unless if it's deathmatch, it's God. If it's standard, solid choice. If, you know, assuming a Spartan is in it, you know. They get diffed by, you know, a tank, the Gremlin. You know, the Brutes would screw them up. They destroyed the Jackals, no problem. They get destroyed by a Prophet, though. Arbiter would destroy them, a Chieftain would destroy them. You know, Suicide Grunt, they should be able to kill Suicide Grunts. You know, they'd F up an Elephant. But they died at ODSTs. Like, if for some reason there's a stubborn UNSC who continues to go Gauss, I mean, they can do something at Plasma Modulator at this point. They should, you know. But I want to, like, see all these units that they keep losing to. It's like I should put them at the top of iffy. Maybe depends, but like I know at a lot of turtle games I play when trying to set up, if I'm a Covenant player, I just blow up the race right away, or I meme and try to keep them around and start them up. But, you know, like, seriously, I put the Wraith in C tier? Yeah. High C tier, I guess. I don't know. But then, I don't know. Because now I have to figure out what to replace the Elephant. We'll figure this out. Grizzly. You're supposed to be better than a Scorpion, but you're not. You have more health, though. If a Spartan is in it, it's God. You know, Spartan Grizzly, right? Because that extra star, more health, but a weaker Cancer Shell damage. In an all Covenant game, if you say it's in an all Covenant game, Grizzly's a solid choice because somebody's probably making Hunters and Grizzlies have extra health, so it's easier to fight the Hunters off. Like, cool, you know. They you know, wash all of this, the Wraiths, like all of this crap down here, you know. A Prophet would, you know, kind of screw these things up. A Chieftain would screw these things up, and an Arbiter would mess these things up. So I guess I put them in the high B tier. and they definitely depend on the situation. Like, they're not horrific, but and it depends. When you're setting up, though, you don't want to make these damn things. You know, you really don't. So maybe like a lower, like definitely they're better than Wraiths. So, and better than all these. Well, really, are they better than Brute Squads? Electric Shock? I don't. I'll put them below the Prophet for depends, and maybe come back later. Scorpions, the bread and butter of the UNSC, the backbone of the UNSC armed forces. Definitely a solid choice. Very solid choice. And normally you want to pair them with Spartans. I put them above the Arbiter because, sure, he likes to rage glitch around and stuff, but if you just D-bomb, you know, and hit him with a bunch of candies, bam, tanks are very solid. They get where they need to go in a reasonable time. You know, they're pretty, you know, fast considering what they are. Better than Wraiths. For UNSC, they're a very, very, very solid choice. Definitely high A tier. I'm not, yeah, I got no problem. Cobras, I would say the quintessential unit for turtling. However, when setting, in the setting up in the setting up process, it definitely depends. Like, okay, they wash the vehicles, right? No problem. They struggle against infantry, however, unless there's something else that you see right here between the Locust and the Scarab, but we'll get back to that later. They're not bad. They're above iffy, right? Because it's like, when you set up for turtling on 14, you tend to just take the walls and have Cobras there. And of course, ignoring the amplification from a Spartan, an engineer combo, it's really freaking annoying to deal with it. Man. I want to put them in high iffy to low depend. You know, when trying to set up, but once you're set, they do their damn thing. Not to mention, you know, that's a unit you don't have to micro, like the Elephant, when you lock it down. Just gotta put them somewhere, and you can force people to go air. So the fact that the unit alone forces people to go air just to not deal with the Cobras, I want to put him in, like, you know, like here somewhere. I want to put the Cobra there, and then, you know, worst case scenario, he falls back to iffy if the opponent stays air. So I guess somewhere here, between like the middle of depend to high iffy, C tier. So I'll put the Cobra like here or something for now. Now, Super Sentinel, you can only get this if you're playing on Glacial Ravine. Now, they do something, but they're going meme tier. There's not too much to explain. Like, I make Sentinels when I'm screwing around. So, like, yeah. A Super Sentinel, it does its shit though. It can stun a vehicle, you know. It's only downside is like this unit doesn't get stars along with the Sentinel, so it's a shame you can't even like get a 3-star Super Sentinel. That'd be some funny shit, you know. But it doesn't kill, it just stuns and barely damages. You know, it can get looked at by every unit in the game and fall down like a freaking, you know, Parkinson's disease tinfoil bird. So I don't know, it's funny. That's all I got for it. So up next is the Hornet. When trying to set up and turtle with this thing, I never freaking see this unit at all. Definitely in the bad tier, not even like iffy, because again, a Shaftpot Hornet would get hard countered by vampires, Wolverines, Hawks, God forbid. Well, if I said, yeah, even Gosshogs, like, they're just bad. Like, okay, they beat the Hornets, they beat the Ghost, the Grunt variants and Choppers, but they lose to Goss. I think. I mean, they can do something. against Gauss, but like you're wasting so many resources. Like you could use those same resources for tanks, Gauss, Wolverines, Gremlins, you know, hell, maybe even Grizzly, but that's a freaking stretch. I don't know about that. I think they go in bad tier for trying to set up and turtling with, you know, even with a Spartan in it, it's like, why would you do that? Because if there's a cryo bomb or vampires, they're useless. Even at 13 stars, they're really dumb. So Hornets they're just horrible. Maybe in an all UNSC game, but even then, like, no, they're just I don't see it. They're just bad. They're just bad. Sentinel, more useless than the Super Sentinel. Funny to build though. Meme. Nothing to really explain. Banshee. When trying to set up, you can't really turtle with these things. It's a shame. They're very good, very fast, you know, but when trying to set up, like, okay, you can do something. I'll put them in the very high iffy tier above the Wraith. Because you can still use those again, you can use what me and my friend Dishonored say, a scouting Banshee, which means you just make a Banshee with boost and you send it around the map to see what the enemy has, make a couple of knockouts of buildings, force enemies to make, you know, vampires, Wolverines, whatever, you know. Yeah. They get the job done, but they're meant to be offensive, not defensive, so you can aggressively poke with a Banshee. But, you know, they tend to just kind of no longer have their use at certain points, especially when trying to turtle, like in this circumstance, whether it's a 3 base, holding the wall, you have to throw these units away for an engineer. So, yeah. Now, Hawks. Solid unit, you know, but like, do I want to put these guys in the meme tier? I'm not even joking, you know, like, okay, Hawks wash this whole category. They wash this whole category. They just obliterate this. They obliterate this. And then they stop here. Right? But having Hawks on the defensive is just kind of odd. And of course, like, in a perfect world, if there's no cryo bombs, no Covenant, then a 14-star Hawk is just God as well. It's very powerful, very annoying, you know. However, of course, the downside with Spartans and air units is if the air unit dies over impassable terrain, then the 3-star Spartan dies as well. So, like, I don't know. Like, all the resources you spent making Hawks, you could have easily had a tank Gremlin combo. They're not bad. It's not a bad choice. It's a, you know what I mean? They're not bad. Like, I guess C tier, high iffy, low, so high C, low B. I keep saying like the name and not the letter of the tier. I think I would put them in high C to low B. They can do something, but the resource, like, again, like, are you really gonna sit here and make a full army of Hawks for defense? If the enemy pushes with vampires and Wolverines, you're kind of dead. If the attack fails, if you get stasis, you know what I mean? Like, they're strong, but defensive, I don't know. I don't have luck defending with these things. I'll put them in C tier. Yeah. Vampire. Very freaking useful. The ultimate anti-air air unit. They're very good. While they're not good against the ground, they're good against the sky. And the sky, the air units is what's used to kind of break any turtles you're trying to make. So because of that and their purpose, they're very useful, especially against airless players who love to make Hawks. They're extremely useful. You got an enemy prophet with stars, they can kind of just shut the prophet down, as long as you know what you're doing. I give them a solid choice above the Wolverine, because even though Wolverines are great anti-air units, they're on the ground, so they have to, they're chasing banshees, and vampires are much better at doing that, much better at chasing hawks, and of course prophets. So very useful. Definitely, like, if there's a prophet on the enemy team and I'm trying to set up a turtle, I always make at least 1 to 2 vampires just because of the prophet. So I throw them in the A tier, middle of A tier, possibly higher, for their utility. We're almost done now. So now we got the vulture. Dude, I put the vulture in like the meme tier. I'm not even like joking. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do with this thing? So you make what, 6 of them? That's 5,400 resources. If you're able to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're too slow. They're too slow to go anywhere. Vultures on defense is a meme. Like, I try to make a vulture get a 3-star vulture in my videos. Like, I meme with this unit. I don't, like, it's not even like bad. Like, when you're trying to set up a turtle, remember, you're trying to set up and turtling. This thing is a meme. High meme. Probably top of the meme tier. No question. Top of the meme tier. Like, you can make like 1 or 2 for lulz, but that shit just blows up and that's 12 population wasted. Like, you could make other things with this damn thing. Even the Cyclops is more use in this damn thing, It's just like Goshawks could do more, Hornets could do more, the Grunts can do more. Maybe not the Ghosts, but Vultures go in the meme tier. It's just too much resources on a big dumb bird that blows up anyway when you throw a rock at it. So, I got nothing to say about this damn thing. Now on to the last set of units. Locust. I don't know if I should throw this in meme or bad tier. Now, you can set an enemy. Okay, on 14, right? If you're trying a super turtle on the grass side, then you're safe, right? You want to harass an enemy. If you somehow kill the base on the concrete side, or you have control of the 3 watchtowers on the concrete side, you can knock out buildings, but okay, they have more use than a vulture, right? I think, you know what, even though I just said a couple of moments ago the vulture is top of the meme tier, I think I should put the locust in meme tier, because they can do shit, and it's always funny making these damn things. They can definitely do shit, you know what I'm saying? They can do shit. But, I mean, hey, at least they can get started up easier, and they're fun. They're baby scarabs. So before we get to this beast, let's cover the scarab. So when trying to set up a turtle and turtling with, I'm gonna have to put the scarab at the top of B tier. Why do I say that? Well, scarabs are strong, but with 20 population, they need a support system. So your teammates' engineers, your engineers, and there has to be a suitable leader combo you're turtling against for an easier time. Because if there's one cutter, even if your scarab has a star, you're at risk. Like, the scarab can get its main use out of 2 stars and higher, because even very nice Spartan tanks can take out a 1-star scarab very easily. The scarab is very tanky at 2 to 3 stars, but a scarab is too big and dumb. If there's an army of banshees flying around, it's good for defending a base or where you want to go, but if you're trying to be offensive, you might make the enemy resign too fast, even if you're not trying to kill them. Scarabs take a little too long, and they take a while to get variancy, and if your enemy is skilled enough to know that that's a problem, if they're Cutter or Anders, they'll mac the hell out of that damn thing and cryo it. And it's very annoying to lose them 15 to 20 minutes into the game, because 3k is a huge hit to your economy early on. And if you keep losing scarabs, 3k 4 times, you spent 12,000 resources. If you lost a scarab 4 times, at that point you should just give up on making them. So scarab definitely, like, they can do something, They wash every unit they can. But with the usage of a support system, I think the Scarab is at the top of B tier. So now, last but not least, we have the Vulcan. The Vulcan goes in God tier. There is absolutely no question about it. Yes, it can't hit air, but everything else gets obliterated. However, I'll put it, maybe I'll tie it with the Brute Chieftain, because if an enemy Brute can pull it and stun it before it dies, the entire Vulcan stack is stunned. And again, Vulcans are just God. Like, you put 5 to 7 together, put a Spartan in that, and vehicles are just shut down. You know, especially if you put an elephant on it, it's game over. You know, however, setting up a Vulcan is easier for the 3 base rather than holding a wall, because you could just go around it. But that's Cobras in general. But the Vulcan, its damage is ridiculous because it's all Cobras shooting at once. So instead of it being like, you know, 1, 2, 3 tank, it's Pume, tank gone, you know. And of course, you can, you know, if you dedicate 4, you know, like what, out of 30 population, dedicate like, you know, 6 population, you know, 10 pop, you know, that's 5 Cobras. And then your teammate does the same thing, 5. You put 2 together, you can have 2 5s for a 10 Vulcan stack or whatever. Cobras they're only 2 population, so you can make very good use out of them. And again, the mirror side of a Vulcan alone can force people to just go air, just to avoid it. So, yeah, I think the Vulcan deserves to be in God tier, no question about it. It can one-shot Spartan tanks, veteranized Scarabs, 3 stars with engineers on it. If it's highly veteranized enough, can one-shot it. So I'll probably put it like here, but not above. Again, the engineer is just too damn useful. But again, it could even eviscerate that. Its healing rate. So yeah, I want to see what changes I can make, but I think that I'm satisfied with this list. If you disagree, please put it down in the comment section. This will be part 1. This will be my tier list personally, for, you know, just me. And hopefully later on throughout the week, I can get my friends and people that I know to discuss. So yeah, I think that concludes the tier list for setting up a turtle and turtling. Yeah, so I think that's good.